Hi, we're Team Future, and this is our presentation about Polya's four-step method. Our group consists of Anna, Chas, John, Julia, Olivia, and Piper.
So, who is Polya and what exactly does this four-step method entail? George Polya was a Hungarian mathematician best known for his contributions to mathematical education, particularly for his work on problem solving. The four steps of his method are as follows. Number 1, understand the problem. Number 2, devise a plan. Number 3, carry out the plan. And number 4, look back and reflect. Polya's intended goal for these four seemingly basic steps was essentially to enforce a simplified yet structured approach to problem solving that could easily be implemented with critical thinking. This method is highly regarded due to the fact that it is straightforward to follow, which makes it useful and applicable to a range of scenarios, both mathematical and academic, as well as in the real world. We are here to establish and break down each of these four steps.
Hello, my math friends. Today I'm here to provide you an example of the Polyo's four-step method. So here's the example. Maria is planning to start a small online business selling a handmade jewelry. She estimates that her fixed costs for the first month, including website hosting, materials, and advertising, will be $500. Each piece of jewelry she makes cost her $10 in the materials, and she plans to sell each piece for $25. How many pieces of jewelry does Maria need to sell in order to break even in her first month?
Now that we have our example, we're ready to begin with the first step of Polya's method, understanding the problem. With word problems like our example, we're given a lot of unnecessary and confusing information. Before we can solve our problem, we want to first understand our problem. To do this, we simplify it down to just what we need to know. There are many different ways to go about simplifying the problem, but what I like to do is to rewrite it in only the critical information and then underline the answer we're trying to solve. For example, we don't need to know Maria or her plan to start a jewelry business. We don't need to know that her monthly costs include website hosting, materials, and advertising. All we need to know is that it costs $500 to run the website. Each piece of jewelry costs $10, and each piece sells for $25. We then underline our question, how many pieces of jewelry does Maria need to sell in order to break even in the first month? Now this problem is much easier to understand and we're ready to move on. Now that we better understand our problem, it's time for step 2, devise a plan. Our plan could be anything from drawing out the problem to utilizing an equation. Our plan could even be testing out different estimations, working backwards to see if they make sense. For our example, we will use an equation. So let's put our problem into an equation that makes sense. Here, we'll use the variable x to represent the number of jewelry pieces Maria sells. We know that for Maria to break even, the number of jewelry she sells for $25, or 25x, must equal the $10 production cost, 10x, plus the fixed monthly cost of $500. Or in simpler terms, 25x equals 10x plus 500.
The third step on Paula's four-step method is execute the plan. First, we need to substitute known values. 25x equals 500 plus 10x. We're going to rearrange the equation to 25x minus 10x, getting x's on the left side, equals 500. Subtract 10 from 25, giving us 15x equals 500. We're going to next divide each side by 15 to get rid of the x. And then we have 500 divided by 15, which is 33.33 repeated.
Now that we've solved for the answer, we apply the final step of Polya's four-step method, which is to look back and reflect. So easiest way to do this is to first double check your math, make sure it makes sense, make sure the numbers we've plugged in add up, make sure you understand where you got those numbers from. Finally, this is where we need to apply a logistical appeal to the question. So we have our answer, 33.33, but the question is how many